Hey everybody, welcome to today's video. I'm Sean James and this is Kentucky, the mini truck state. On today's video, we are going to work on Kaydees Mazdas again on the hard lines where we left off from last week. Before we do that, I'd like to say thank you to all the people who have subscribed so far, and thank you for sharing the videos. I really do appreciate it. But make sure to hit the like switch, comment, subscribe, notification bell, all that good stuff, all the good YouTubey things. Make sure and get all that done. That really helps my channel grow, and I really do appreciate it. Before we get started, I want to let you know, in the last video, I was working on making the brackets to hold the air valves in place, and I decided to go to Jarrod at Hooies Fab Shop. He has a plasma table, and have him cut me out some brackets. That way, the stuff I had here was, I think, 18 gauge. I didn't like how thin it was, so he made them out of 1/8 inch. That way, I don't have to worry about them bending or moving or coming disconnected while going down the road. And he made them 5 inches long, so I have plenty of material there where I can decide where I want them. I can bend them, make tabs to bolt to the frame. And so with being just kind of a generic length, I have plenty of material there to where I can find a good place to mount everything and then run the hard line from there. So let's go ahead and get the brackets drilled. And then once they're drilled, we'll just start mounting the brackets and getting the air valves mounted as well. And then once those are mounted, we can bend all the hard line and all that good stuff. So let's get started from there. All right, these are the brackets that Jarrod made for me, and this is the bracket that I started with that came on them. It was going to be too close on the frame whenever I tried to mount it to actually be able to get any kind of fitment the way I wanted it to. And then this is the one I was trying to make, but like I said, the metal is so thin that it's just super weak, and I'd be afraid of with all that, driving down the road, flopping and stuff, that it would just not be very safe, especially once you take and cut that hole out. This would be extremely flexible, so I decided to go ahead and have him make these brackets for me. So what we have to do now is just take this bracket, lay it over top of this, and just drill the holes out, which that'll be kind of fun because whenever you plasma cut brackets out, it makes the metal a little tempered, so it's a little bit harder to do it. But all we gotta do is find a drill bit that'll work. 3/16 is a little small. That's that's probably close enough, but this one here should be good. There we go. That'll be the one. We'll be able to get these drilled out real quick. We'll get it marked and get them drilled out real quick. All right, so we got to take and drill the holes out on these. And so what we'll do is we'll just take and use the factory bracket, and we'll line it up with the hole. Make sure it's going to fit everywhere. And once we get it, we'll just take and mark that with a Sharpie. All right, got the holes marked. And then what we'll do is we'll use a center punch to mark, so when we start drilling with the drill, it doesn't move around on us. Make sure and hold it right in the center. And there you go. You can see, got the holes punched. So now all we gotta do, I always like to use clamps. That way, I don't have a bench vise. It's something I'm planning on getting. I'm actually been looking for one for a little while. I found a couple on Marketplace. I just have to take the time to go pick them up. With the holidays and stuff, it's just hard to have a lot of spare time to be out running around. So, all right, well, let me work on getting this drilled out. All right, now that I have that clamped down, what I'd like to do is start off with a smaller drill bit. That way it just makes it easier for the bigger drill bit to drill in, which these aren't really big holes, but it makes it better if you start with a smaller bit. Where is my turn? Now that I have this drilled out, you can see on the back side there's a lot of burrs from the drill bits. So what I'll do is I'll get a flat disc and make sure and clean that up. That way we're not cutting ourselves. And then we'll take and test fit it to one of the valves, see how it works. All right, we got that clamped down. We'll go ahead and just take the flat disc and clean it up. Do the other side just to make sure there's no burrs. All right, then we got that all cleaned up. Be good to go. So let's get one of the valves and see how they fit. All right, so this is the 3/8 SMC valve, and then just got to take it apart. And I left these kind of loose whenever I took it apart because I knew whenever I took the brackets off that I'd end up needing them again to take them apart again. Make it easier on myself. One sec. Let's do this. Push this down. Take and pull that clip off the top. Takes the solenoid off the top. Makes this a whole lot easier to work on. And this isn't something I've messed with before. I bought these valves, like I said, easily 25 years ago, if not longer than that. I bought them at Show Fest from Jason Thorbeck, you know, back when that show was still around down in Greenville, Mississippi. So yes, it has been just a little while. All right, we got the valve cleaned up. Now it's time to test fit it, see how it fits. Really good. And the good thing about this bracket is I can turn it either way I need to, depending on how I need it to mount to the frame. Oop, come loose. And I can turn it anywhere I want to. And the reason I had it made it long is that if I want to take and cut this bracket shorter, I can. Or if I need to grind it, bend it, and re-weld it, I can do that also. And that gives me plenty of options for mounting it on the frame. So put that back together. Set the valve on there, or the cover, and just get these kind of hands started. Get them all just into the valve. And I gotta make sure and give Jarrod plenty of thanks. He's a good guy. He's a heck of a fabricator. You can check him out. He doesn't have a YouTube channel, but he does have a Facebook page. His name is Jarrod King, and it is at Hooies Fab Shop. And he is currently building a amazing Dakota for his friend Aaron Griffith. I believe that's his correct name. I'm terrible with names, by the way. So, all right, you got that mounted up. Make sure you put the washer on there. All right. Push it down. That locks right back on. And there you go. We have a plate. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get all the brackets marked and drilled out, and that way we can go ahead and kind of focus more on getting them mounted. So let me go ahead and get all the stuff drilled out, and then I come back, we'll start figuring out placements, getting that marked, getting them drilled, and getting them mounted. All right, one of the best things that I did whenever I did start trying to fabricate stuff was this. I got 3 grinders, and each grinder has a different stone on it. So this is a cut wheel, that's got a flat disc, and that just has a rough stone on it. The reason for that is nothing is more irritating when you're working on something and you have to cut it, then you have to grind it, and you got to switch discs back and forth, especially if you're doing a lot of little cuts and little grinds and stuff, and you go, oh my goodness. So I've actually had those grinders, one of the grinders for probably 2 years, and it's been a good grinder. So I actually found 2 more on Amazon. And I think they're like 48 bucks a piece, something like that, not really bad at all. I was like, well, that's not too bad. So I got 2 more, and that made it a whole lot easier. So here's what we have to do next with the valves. I went ahead and marked these at about 1 inch back on that one and this one, because these 2 will be the same. And what I'd like to do is take my cut wheel and cut this ever so much, maybe like 1/8 inch deep, where I can bend it just a little bit easier. Then once I get it bent where I want it, I'll take a welder and weld that back up and metal finish its top. Now, if you didn't want to go through all that extra work, you could do it on the bottom, cut it on the bottom, bend it up, and then weld the bottom and not have to metal finish it. But I think that's just kind of the lazy way to do things. I mean, anything worth doing is worth doing right. Even if it's a few more steps, and it'll look better in the long run. So the plan right now is, like I said, I'm going to take and go ahead and get this one cut, then we'll take them over to the frame, we'll look at them and see how they match up. And then once we get it bent where we want to, then we'll come back with a welder, we'll weld it, metal finish it, and we'll go ahead and clamp it to the frame, and then we'll drill the holes and get it mounted. Get the holes drilled, get it tapped. Then that way we can mount those brackets to the frame. Then once those are mounted, then we can run the rest of the airlines. All right, before I mount these to the bed or to the frame, what I'd like to do is go ahead and get the holes drilled for where I want to put on the frame. That way when I get up there, I'll try and drill it on the frame. Maybe a little harder myself. Again, we'll do the same thing we did earlier. I came in 5/8 off each side, then about 1/2 inch off the bottom. That way they're in the same place. This one's marked the same way. Believe it or not, that's just bike chain lube, and it works really well for this, surprisingly. We'll do the same thing we did on those. We'll take the grinder and clean them up once we get them both ground, and I'll do that off camera. Y'all have seen me do it before, so it ain't like it's anything new. Nothing I'm doing is really anything new, but you know. I think that's a good angle for sure. Nice cleaned up. All right, had a little audio issue, so we're going to show you this again. I just took a pair of a crescent wrench, and with that ground out like that, makes it really easy to manipulate it. And I just bent it down, and I bent them both where they line up exactly the same. And now that I have that bent where I want, all I got to do is weld that up, then take a flap wheel and just clean that up, and it'll look really good. So you have a nice seam on the bottom still. You have a nice seam on top. It'll look like a nice bent piece. So if you don't have fancy equipment, you can still do a good job. So the plan now, I'll take this, and I had to find my angle finder. This is just kind of a, what I call a rough draft here, just so we can kind of get a look at it. Put a clamp on it. And like I said, there's plenty of room here for stuff to fit underneath here. All this is going to be down underneath that. I'll have a line that comes from here over and back up the same way this does. I like the way that the jog looks in there. This will come over, come back into this, and this will just have a fitting to come out and point down just to get it away from there. And I'm sure I'll put some sort of end filter or something to keep stuff and get on the inside of it. No big deal. But once I decide where I want this one to go, we'll do the same thing with the other one and get it set. So it's just a matter of getting it tight to the tube and then getting a clamp on it. And again, I got my angle finder so I can set that. So you know, I want it to look like I meant to put it where it goes. There's all sorts of clearance underneath this. It's not gonna hit that there, so I ain't gonna worry about none of that rubbing. I've got this isolator clamp. Whenever I drill these holes, I'll drill this hole as well, so I can mount this down. Same thing, I'll take a 1/4 bolt in the washer to hold that in place, so this will be nice and solid, it won't vibrate. And then I'll do the same thing over here on this one, and I'll do that all off camera. I'm sure y'all don't want to see me repeating the same thing over and over, so that way we can kind of keep the video to a good length. Now that I have these holes drilled, what I'm going to do is go ahead and tap these two holes, and get them ready. I don't want to weld these up yet until I get it bolted down, because I'm sure it's going to pull it up, and then I can still push it down and get them both level with each other. So let's work on getting that part done. Again, it's just a 1/4 tap to go into these holes, and I'll use that same stuff I had earlier, the chain lube. I said it works really well. I've been using it for quite a while. I know it's not exactly the right stuff, but it's better than no lube. Easy now. So, and I'm not going to show you all 4 of these. There's no point in it. I need to get a proper tap set, but for this little stuff, this will work just fine. Run that in. I guess I could put it in the drill if I wanted to. That's kind of a dangerous game to play there. Seems like that might be the wrong size drill bit. Well, luckily this stuff isn't something that's going to take a lot of pressure on it, so it'll be just fine. And also this pipe is not very thick either, so I think it might be 1/8 inch, 3/16, something like that. So that's one of the reasons it's probably tapping pretty easy too. It's not a real thick block of metal. So that's probably what's going on. Feel a little better about that now that I think about it. Come on, buddy. There we go. Nice and straight. This is the 3rd time I've recorded this now. All right, as you can see, this cut has opened up. That way I have plenty of place to lay a nice little weld into, and you can see why I didn't want to weld it. When I bolted this down, it pulled this up a little bit, and I'll be able to adjust that angle up or down. I want to go ahead and get this one set. We want to get them both where we want it. This one has been giving me a fit for some reason, but we'll get it. We always do. Don't quit. Well, some days it seems like it'd be easier to, but a little progress every day is progress every day. All right, you can see how that's pointed up. So now all I gotta do is push down on that. And we got it good. So all we gotta do is, like I said, I'm gonna get my angle finder and put it on there. Make sure they're both the same, just to do a good job. The sides gotta go down a little bit more, I can tell. Right about there. So we can go ahead and weld these up and metal finish both of those. And then once we get this done, we can move on to the front. That may be all we do on this video. I don't want to make it really, really long. I've already got quite a bit of footage. So what we'll do is we'll get these welded up, get them metal finished, get them back on the truck, and I believe we'll probably stop the video there. And then next week, we'll focus on getting these air lines hooked into it and then moving on to the front. The front will be more of the same. We'll take that same idea with the brackets. And we'll come up here to the front. And we'll likely mount them either under like that, or over. It won't really matter because we'll be able to run the airline either way. And what I'd like to do is have these airlines come forward, under and around. I think this tank's going to run to the front. So I think this tank's going to run to the back, just to make it easier to get to it and leave more room to work with it. So I'm not trying to squeeze these lines up onto here. So let's go ahead and get those welded up, metal finished, and we'll call this video a wrap. Always make sure to turn your gas off, and we'll let that cool for just a second, and then I'll take the flap wheel. I'll clean this top edge up, the bottom. You can see they're both a little bit different angles, but again, that's just where I messed up, not really paying attention when I set them. Should have paid a little bit better attention there, so that's all on me. But once they're mounted, they'll be laying at the same height, so I'm not really too worried about that. Let me get the flap wheel over here, and we'll get that cleaned up real quick. Got them welded up, ready to where all we have to do is just clean it up with the flap wheel, make it look good. I said these aren't structural welds, so I'm not worried about them being dimes or like that, because I plan on grinding most of it off. It's just to fill that corner in and make it look like it's a bent piece instead. All right, and there you go. The brackets are finished. All right, guys, we're gonna stop the video there. So hopefully next week we'll be able to get the other ones made, get them mounted up, and start bending the airlines again. I know this wasn't a real exciting video, but at least, you know, it shows you some of the thoughts that go into mounting this stuff instead of, you know, trying to come up with something that looks like you plan to do it that way. So hopefully it looks that way when we get done with it. I'm really happy with how it's turning out. So like always, I appreciate the support. Make sure to hit the like switch, comment, subscribe, notification bell, all that good stuff, all the YouTube things, and I really do appreciate it to help grow my channel. And we'll make sure and catch y'all on the next one. Thank you.